Hello and welcome to this video on register and when. In this video, we're going to look at how to use the register directive to register output, how to make use of the registered output, how to work around differences with registered output, filters that relate to registered content, and throughout all of this we'll be making more use of when. We saw in the earlier sections that the Ansible ad hoc command line utility can be used in a variety of ways. An area that is particularly convenient is the command module, which is the default if no module is provided. For example, okay, so here we've just shown the example of the hostname command with the short form output, and we can see the hostname being output there to standard out. For each of these, let's try and use this in a playbook. We're going to use this in conjunction with register. You can see there we're running the command, and we're also registering that output in hostname underscore output. If we run this, as we can see there, the command is executed and is registered as a change, but we do not have the output. This is where register comes into play. We can define a variable where we can register context from the executed module. Let's take a look at this further and see how we can access the information that we've registered. Step into revision 2 and take a look at our playbook. And you can see there, as well as using the register option, we're also using the debug module with the var option to show our hostname underscore output registered data. Let's run this. Okay, we've got a lot of information there. If, however, we focus on the last one, Ubuntu free, we can see the command as well as the parameters individually laid out in a list. We can also see the start and end times. The status, RC is the return code, so in this case with it being 0, the command was successful. We can see standard error where nothing went to standard error, but in standard out we see our hostname output. We also, for convenience sake, have standard out lines with each line being a list entry. This is very handy. We can, for example, access this variable and use this output directly. Step into revision 3 and again bring up the playbook. In this example, we're using the dot notation, and you can actually see there for var, we have hostname underscore output dot standard out. If we run this example, there you can see we now have the hostname from the registered information that we've captured. In previous sections, we used the when conditional for checking the Ansible distribution. We're now going to revisit and look at it in a bit more detail. It's a powerful directive that can be used in a variety of ways, and we'll see how we can combine this with register. In this example, we're using Jinja 2 syntax in the when directive, but note, without having to include the double curly brackets. Okay, so by setting the Ansible distribution to CentOS and the specific major version to 8, we have excluded our Ubuntu hosts and it's registered the output for our CentOS hosts. Let's have a look at how we could also do this for Ubuntu. Firstly, let's take a look at the facts. We'll do this with the Ansible ad hoc command line tool and a filter. Okay, so what we're going to do here is use the Ansible underscore distribution and a major version of 20. Step into revision 5 and have a look at our playbook. So here we've improved our when condition, and we've actually got two different conditions there. When the Ansible distribution is equal to CentOS and its particular distribution major version is 8, or when the Ansible distribution is Ubuntu and its Ansible distribution major version is 20. Let's try this. Great. So now we are seeing changed for all, indicating that it's matching the facts with when. We want our playbooks to be compatible with future versions of both CentOS and Ubuntu. Let's go into revision 6. And note here the use of int and the greater or equal to a version. So this is saying as long as the Ansible distribution is CentOS and it's a version of 8 or greater, or if it's Ubuntu and is 20 or greater, this should work and should register the output. Okay, and again, that's a change for all of our hosts. So that's working as expected. If you step into revision 7, if you're working with AND statements, you can also just provide a list to when, and this automatically converts to an AND. So you can see there, underneath our when directive, we have the Ansible distribution equals CentOS and the Ansible distribution major version greater than 8, and both of these are in a list format. And again, that skipped our Ubuntu hosts, but it's showing as a change for all of our CentOS ones. Go into revision 8. What's useful is combining the registered output with when. If you look through that output, you can actually see there for the Ubuntu hosts, it shows skipped as true, and for the CentOS hosts, we have the capture of the registered information. It's worth noting here, and something to be aware of when using register, that the output on a module can vary. In some cases, we can see the skip key, in others, we don't. The same can be said about failed. Let's use the change key as this is consistent. The output is a boolean, so we can use this directly. Go into revision 9. And here we have the conditional when. When command underscore registered dot changed is true. If it is true, it's going to install the patch package on that system. So we should see this install patch on all of our CentOS hosts. Okay, great, that was done successfully. It's also possible to do this with the is directive. So you can see there that we've actually changed this, and this looks a bit cleaner when the command underscore register is changed. Okay, and in this case, it's actually done this. We have a green output as this has been installed previously, but we can see that this has also been successful. In a similar respect, we can also check for skipped items. And here, what we're actually doing is, if it's actually been skipped, we're then going to install patch. So this should cover all of the Ubuntu hosts that we've previously skipped. Okay, great. And we can see that that's successful. In this case, that patch module was already available. In this lecture, we've been able to see that through the combination of register and when, we've been able to target many different outcomes, regardless of what could have been deemed a success or failure. That's it for this one. Please join me in the next video, Loopin'.